Hey, this is Kat Annie. Welcome to my channel, Weighed and Measured. If you're new here, I want you to know something about me. I have a serious food addiction. I absolutely love food. And without help, without boundaries, I literally cannot stop eating. This virtual background is playing tricks on me. There's my arm. There it isn't. I took this picture when I was driving across Wyoming. Uh, I had a thing to do in Montana, which is north of Wyoming, and I just had this desire to drive across Wyoming. It seems extravagant. So I flew into Denver and I rented a car and I drove across Wyoming to Montana to attend this event. I guess the reason I'm sharing that, and that's where I got this background picture. The reason I'm sharing that is because it's amazing what you can do when food does not control your entire life. I mean, one of the biggest hints that someone has a food addiction is excess weight. Now, that can be caused by other things other than overeating, and there can be massive food addictions that are not visible, purging for one. But in my case, I didn't really do anything fancy. I just ate all the time. That's all I wanted to do. And so I got up to close to 300 pounds, and I don't weigh that now. So that's what you need to know about me. Now, what happened is I found a group of people who are like me, food addicts, and like me. Oh my God, I get a text right in the middle of this. Okay, sorry about that. So this is real life. I have texts, I have people in my life. Next time I'll turn off my phone because I can learn. So I got with these people that had a solution, and the solution was to follow a food plan that is apparently healthy because lots of these people have been doing this for decades. So it's a food plan, and it's a committed food plan, which means I commit to eating certain foods in certain amounts, and I do what I say I'm going to do. And I have immense freedom. There's nothing like if you have a food addiction, it's a battle. It's a constant battle. I'm either giving into it or I'm fighting it. Now, you would think that to have a food plan, and which means I'm not going to be eating certain foods that are not on the food plan, but you would think, wow, that's like a horrible life. That's got to be a complete struggle. And it's not. It's absolute freedom, which just sounds really weird. But I feel such freedom. I mean, I ate lunch about an hour ago, and I'll have dinner in about 4 hours. And normally, I never think about my food in between meals. I don't think about it. Isn't that weird? You would think that someone who's like so in love with food and so powerless over food would be thinking about food all the time, especially someone that's not eating all the time. And I don't, because I'm not eating the foods that I'm addicted to that are causing cravings. And I know that I have a delicious dinner coming. I've been doing this at this point, without exception, for a decade. And I've been having boundaries around my food since I was 28, which is 40 years. No sugar for 40 years. I'm just shocked. I'm shocked that I have such freedom. I absolutely never think about those foods. But the purpose of this particular video is I was thinking about how the greatest asset I have is that I know that I'm powerless. I know so deep in my soul that I cannot go head to head, toe to toe, get in the boxing ring with food. I will lose. And there are some philosophies and ways that people try to help people that have what I have by suggesting that willpower is what you need. You need to feel like you're stronger than the food. You're bigger than the food. Everything that you are is so much bigger than the food. You can do this. You can do this. And it doesn't work. I read a study that studied willpower. And willpower, according to this scientific study, has a limit. It wears out. You cannot have unlimited willpower, which is what it would require for me to stop eating, to stop overeating on my own, to eat 3 meals a day. I don't have that kind of willpower, and I don't have that willpower for decades. What I do have, though, is I have a food plan and I have a fellowship of other people. I'm not going to tell you exactly what I'm doing, um, other than there's other people that do this with me. That's what's so critical. A fellowship. I never wanted a fellowship. When I contemplated, uh, back when I was 275 or 285, one or the other, when I contemplated, I got to turn this around. I thought I would do it on my own. I was so ashamed of myself. I was so fat. I had boils all over my body. I shouldn't say the word fat. I don't like that term. I am fat. No, I am not fat. A human being cannot be fat. If there was just fat, there would be no human being. There would be no bones and ligaments and blood and hair. So I had so much excess fat on my body, and it was not pretty. And I just didn't feel good. And I just really thought, this is not right. Maybe it's right for some people. There are some people that are like celebrities, like beautiful, gorgeous. They love themselves and they're really heavy. They have a lot of excess. I don't know if you call it fat or flesh, but they're just fabulous. I didn't feel that way. That wasn't me. I needed a way to not eat more food than my body needs to be healthy. I needed to not carry around 120 or 30 pounds of extra weight. That's hard. That's a lot. I mean, you pick up a 10-pound bag of produce. That's a lot. 10 pounds and you carry that around? That's a lot. So multiply that by 10. 10 of those bags hanging on your body. Not for me. Other people, fine. I respect them. They're beautiful. I'm talking about people like me who don't want to carry that extra weight, but do not have anywhere near the willpower. I always thought of it as, let's say it takes 50-gallon drum of willpower to not eat more than my body needs. It takes 50-gallon drum. And I have a teaspoon of that. That's what I inherently have available to me, is 1 teaspoon of willpower. And if I could somehow double that, double down, double that willpower, I have 2 teaspoons. But what it requires is a 50-gallon drum. I ain't got it. I ain't got it. So the biggest thing I have going for me is knowing that I do not have what it takes. And when I weighed all that weight and I said, I've got to turn this around, I cannot continue. I didn't want to be with other people. I did not want to engage with other people. I just wanted to like go hide in some back room and get it together and emerge a goddess. And I found out that I had to show up. I had to turn myself in and show up. It's sort of like a come as you are party and say, I need help. I can't do this. So much help, so much love, so much acceptance. There's nothing like getting help from someone who's been where you're at. Nothing but compassion and hope. We've had doctors talk to us and therapists, and you should do this and you should do that. And they mean well. They've paid a lot of money for their education. They're probably still paying off their student loans, but they don't have what a person has who's done this. They don't have that deep knowledge. And so I found people, if you did a search on the internet and you looked up weighed and measured food plan without exception, you'd find various programs or groups that are doing this thing. And for me, I needed a group that did the same food plan, although there's thousands of variations of these different foods that are on the plan that you can choose. Thousands of combinations that you choose, cooked in different ways. So it's not like we're all eating the same thing, but we're eating with these foods that are on the food plan and not eating foods that are not on the food plan. I found for me that I could not choose a food plan that included grains or sugar. There may be people who say you should be able to do these in moderation. If you are spiritual and if you're healed and if you're recovered, you should be able to eat these foods. That has not been my experience. These foods get a hold on me mentally, physically, emotionally, and I crave them. I want to be able to drive across Wyoming without thinking about food all the time. I want to be able to drive past these how's that go? Amber waves of grain without thinking about how they could be ground up and baked into something that I could eat the whole thing. I want to be able to drive across Wyoming and notice these clouds in the sky and how flat it is. I'm not going to do that again. I don't need to drive across Wyoming again, but I wanted to. And because I was not deep in active food addiction, craving sugar, wondering when the next little shop or gas station is going to be there so I can go in there and get something to try and shut down the craving. Because every time you have a craving for something and then you indulge in that thing, a lot of times there is the thought that just one, and I'll be done. And the craving comes roaring back even stronger. So how happy I was to be able to drive across this quite monotonous landscape without being under the thumb of active sugar addiction. So that's just an aside. But to conclude, the greatest thing I have going for me is that I have no hope. I have no hope. I've already been on this road, not that road, my road, for a long time. And I have had wow, what a transformation from complete victimhood and obesity to empowerment and a normal sized body. I wouldn't even say normal because normal these days is, got a lot of pounds on. That's what's normal these days. I would like to say, instead of I'm at a normal weight, I would say I'm at a healthy weight. And for me, having 100 pounds extra on my body is not healthy. That's for me what it does to my organs, my joints. This is healthy. So, the greatest thing I have going for me is that I have no hope. No hope whatsoever of figuring this out and continuing on my own. And like I said, I didn't want to be with people. I didn't want to get to know people. I didn't want to be vulnerable. But I didn't know there were people like this. I didn't know there were people that wanted the best for me, that celebrated my success. So I found those people. And I have no hope. I have no hope. And also, I have no cravings. So I just wish more people knew about this. I wish more people knew that this is the easier, softer way to go through life, is to have firm boundaries on the food that can go into my body and a group of people that are doing the same thing. And we walk this path together. So thanks for, there's my arm again. See how it disappears? This virtual reality or virtual background, not virtual reality. This is not artificial intelligence. This is body intelligence. So this is Cat Annie, weighed and measured. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you next time.